Hello everybody, Mike Welsch coming to you from Gulfstream Park, where as you can see, the weather is just gorgeous. Everybody down for the big weekend from up north for the Pegasus and the Eclipse Awards, just walking around with smiles on their faces, getting out of the cold and into this warm weather. And the forecast right through Saturday appears to be warm and dry, which is great news all around. Obviously, the Pegasus car race is the focus of attention, but it's a terrific card here on Saturday. 13 races. Almost all of them at full fields, just great betting opportunities, wide open races. We've got that Rainbow Six. There's going to be a big mandatory payout on Sunday if it survives Saturday. But history tells us that a lot of times it does not survive the day before. And with all these big fields, that could be a situation. You're almost looking at a big payoff in the Rainbow Six, no matter what transpires. And then you've got to get Sunday's mandatory. But let's look at focus on the main event here Saturday, and that is the Pegasus World Cup. A full field of 12, as I said, going postward in races of 1 1/8 miles. I can't belabor the point more here on the main track. Post position is key. The outside posts at a definite disadvantage, and several of the main contenders were drawn outside, most specifically Skippy Longstocking, who drew post 12, and his status is still a little bit up in the air right now, whether he's going to start or not. If he comes out, Castle Chaos would fill that spot. If his connections decide to go there, they're also entered in the Harlan's Holiday, where they probably have a much better chance of success. The favorite in the race, without a doubt, is going to be the Bob Baffert trained National Treasure, and he drew well in post position 7. Normally, middle of the pack is terrific in these kind of races, but as you get to 7, 8, 9, you're even asking for a little trouble out there too with that short run to the first turn. And Bob Baffert admitted that he's not going to be happy until they break and his horse survives that what could be a cavalry charge into the first turn. Right next to him is the horse that's going to be the second choice, First Mission. He's in post position 8, which is really on the cusp of where things start to can get dicey. From the gate to the first turn. I talked to trainer Brad Cox a little earlier today. He is over the moon at the way this horse is doing. His last race to Clark, he did got beat a nose by Trademark, who was also in this field, but what a race he ran. He was set a pressured pace every step of the way before just succumbing after a hard drive to the wire with Trademark, who actually got by far the better of the trips that day. But it was exactly what Brad Cox was looking for. He said that was a prep for this race here. He came out of the Clark in terrific shapes. I've seen a couple of his works on tape since then. He looks like he couldn't be doing better, and I saw him here this morning galloping over the track. His ears were up. He looked like a very happy horse. So First Mission appears to be going into the race in good order, and I think it's going to be a major factor if he can get around that first turn and get himself a good trip under Luis Saez. I'm going to run down the full field for you right now. In post position order, the rest of them. Nimitz Class, I think, is an interesting horse. He's in new hands for this race. George Weaver has him. Appears to be training well from my reports up at Palm Beach Downs since his arrival in Florida. He's got some races on his form, numbers-wise, that can win this race. He's down on the rail. That could be a bad post, or it could be a very, very good post with that short run to the first turn. He's got tactical speed. I'll look for Nimitz Class to be forwardly placed under Edgar Zayas, and I think he could be a bit of a sleeper in here. O'Connor in post 2, much better post for O'Connor than a year ago in this race. O'Connor was in post 12 last year, had no chance. He's a better horse now than he was then. He's coming off 2 very good victories, very game victories. I think O'Connor, if he can work out some kind of a trip, now he's going to be further back in the pack. So, with a full field of 12 on this racetrack, you got to be a little bit lucky to make up the ground, but I think O'Connor has a good shot in here. Dynamic One in post 3, one of 3 horses Todd Pletcher has in the race. Comes off a very disappointing comeback race here last month, and his form, obviously not the same form he's got right now as he had when he won the Grade 2 Suburban back in the summer of 2022, but he appears to be training well. I look for him to move forward off that last race. If he can move forward enough to be a factor here at the end, that remains to be seen. Hoist the Gold, an interesting horse for trainer Dallas Stewart. Comes up far and away the best race of his career, but that was at a mile, the Cigar Mile. in New York at Aqueduct. He won wire to wire very easily, but over a track that was totally speed favoring that day. A big plus for him. So he's got a couple of questions to answer in here. Most specifically, the distance. Can he get 1 mile and an eighth? And can he do so if he gets pressed early for the pace? And can he do so over a fast racetrack? Trademark's next. Like I said, that game victory over First Mission in the Clark. This horse has a series of good races. He's got one bad race in his form over about the last 6 months. That was the Fayette. But other than that, this horse has the races on his resume that can make him a factor in here too. He's well posted. He will be coming from somewhere in mid-pack if this race goes according to what it looks like on paper. Senior Buscador was second best to hoist the gold in the Cigar Mile. Really had no chance coming from that far back over that speed favoring track. He ran okay in the Breeders' Cup Classic. He's got some big races on his form as well. I look for Senior Buscador to be coming on best of all at the end. We spoke about National Treasure and First Mission. Grand Aspen for Todd Pletcher comes off his best race yet. Second to O'Connor in the Harlan's Holiday. Still going to have to step up a little more to be a factor. Il Miracolo, third best, no match for Trademark and First Mission in the Clark. And post 10, not a good draw for him. The same for Krupe in post 11. He's won 4 of his last 5. He looks like a horse that's getting better with every start, but post 11 going to make it very tough. And I thought Skippy Longstocking would be a major factor in here until he drew post 12. So he's going to need a lot of racing luck if he does run in here. His alternative would be to go to Saudi Arabia next month. Now, one other race I want to talk about on the card, the Snake speak for himself. The turf race, obviously the Pegasus turf is headed by Warm Heart, the European filly, who is the only filly in the race. She did take on boys for the first time in her last start in Japan, ran a good third, but still this racetrack here, this turf course here, very firm, very hard of late. Not sure how she's going to handle that at a short price. The other race I wanted to talk about, the second race on the card, is a maiden race, but what a maiden race it is. You may not remember, but a year ago on the Pegasus card, this very same race, same conditions, everything, the Kentucky Derby winner came out of that race. That was Mage's first start. Mage won that race, and we know what happened going forward. So we're likely to see at least a Florida Derby contender or two come out of here, maybe even a Kentucky Derby contender. And the same people that brought you Mage have one of the leading contenders in here. It's first time start at Victory Avenue, a New York bred by Arrogate, who is training lights out here. But there are a lot of horses here that are training lights out around the country. You don't want to miss the Daily Racing Form Clock Report and get the lowdown on most of these first time starters in this field, including a pair for Todd Pletcher, Speakeasy and My True Colors. Corporate Power, a son of Curlin, out of the Grade 2 winning mare Road to Victory for Shug McGahee. Rapid Gray for Mark Cassie. We have also the one to really watch in here. Now, well, one of them is Tapakina for Brian Lynch, who's training well. And Batten Down, a first-time starter. Of all the horses in here, the best breeding is certainly Batten Down by Tappet out of Close Hatches, a 5-time Grade 1 winner and a brother to Tacitus. So the second race gets us started with something we're really looking forward. It's going to be early. Post time's 11. That race will be 11:30. And it's going to lead all the way forward to the big one, the Pegasus World Cup. And keep it right here, DRF.com. And don't forget the DRF Clocker Report. It's going to be a big one. It's going to be loaded with information on Saturday.